Okay, this last one is tougher, to be honest. It's not impossible by any means, though. It really isn't too bad if you just try and organise the information in the question systematically and use the formulas. Now, the first thing we're told in the question is that the sum of the first 7 terms of an arithmetic sequence is equal to, I believe it's 5 times the 7th term. Well, let's break that down. The sum of the first 7 terms, let's use a formula straight away, S7. The sum of the first 7 terms will be 7 over 2 multiplied by 2a plus 6d. Have a little think about that and check you agree that the sum of the first 7 terms will indeed be that. And that's because n is here, 7, and n minus 1 is there, and that's why that becomes a 6. And that is the sum of the first 7 terms. Okay, we've got a lot of unknowns there. That's an unknown, the first term's an unknown, and the common difference is an unknown. So there's not much we can do with that on its own. But we also know that this is equal to 5 times the 7th term. Now the 7th term, U7, will be equal to, sorry my 7's gone a little bit skewiff there, will be equal to just a plus 6d. I hope you agree with that. That's because that's just a plus n minus 1d, and n minus 1 is 6. Now let's break down what it really said there. It said that the sum of the first 7 terms is 5 times greater than the 7th term. So all we've got to do with the 7th term is times it by 5, and that should be equal to the sum of the first 7 terms. So what I really need to do is this. 5 times the 7th term equals the sum of the first 7 terms. Lovely. Now, sorry, my camera keeps going out of focus. That's because I keep moving my hand. Sorry about that. Now, what remains to be seen is how we're going to solve this, because here we have an equation, and as you can see, there are 2 unknowns, a and d. Now whenever you've got one equation and 2 unknowns, you're desperately looking for another equation, because this is clearly, like so many others, going to turn into a simultaneous equations problem. Now there was one more bit of information they gave us. That information was that the 4th term was 15. So what I can say is U4, which is of course a plus 3d, that equals 15. Happy? Right. What I normally do in these questions is I scribble out this little bit because I don't really need that U4. What I really need is the 15 equals a plus 3d. That is what's really useful to me, because now I've got 2 equations and just 2 unknowns. All I really need to do now is sort out this mess here. Just tidy it up a bit, put all the a's on one side, put all the d's together, you know. There's a lot of things we can simplify in that equation. Basically just multiply out the brackets and simplify it. Once I've done that, I'll be able to just solve these equations simultaneously like we used to do in GCSE. So, firstly multiply out the brackets. Notice that I didn't multiply out this bracket because I'm going to times both sides of the equation by 2. I like to do that. You may not, but to me it clears it up nicely. Now I'm going to multiply these by 7. I hope you were okay with what I did there, yeah? I doubled this one so I didn't have to halve this one anymore, and then I just needed to times inside these brackets by 7. That's all I've done. Okay, I'm going to write this one down here exactly the same, just to remind me that I've got 2 equations to solve with 2 unknowns. All I really need to do now is put everything on that side. 0 equals 4a, I took away 10a, minus, I'm going to take away 60d, minus 18d. Okay, I've now got 2 equations. Let's call them a and b. I'm just going to solve them simultaneously, so I'm going to write this one down underneath for b. 15 equals a plus 3d. Right, obviously the natural thing to do, I think, would be to times b by 4. I'm going to write them both down again. Hope I have enough space. And times it by 4, 6d equals 4a plus 12d. I'm then going to subtract, yeah? 60 minus 0 is 60. 4a minus 4a is 0. And 12 minus 18d is going to be 30d. And that gives me d equals 2. Isn't that nice? Once I've got d equals 2, I can easily plug it back in here, and I don't think it will be very hard for you to see. If d is 2, that will be 6, so a must be 9. And that completes the question. Big tick.